Hello and welcome everybody to another puzzle challenge video from chessuniversity.com. This is Ryan Murphy again presenting the puzzle video of the day, and since it's the last day of the week, it's at least the Sunday where I am in the US, we have our last difficult puzzle of the week, so we're still in the advanced category, so for players around 2000, and as usual anyone's free to try to solve it and post their solution on chessuniversity.com. I will put the link for that web page in the description of the YouTube video. So check that out if you're on YouTube, and if you're already on chessuniversity.com, cool. Glad to see you here. In this position, it is white to play and win. White's already doing pretty well, and there's a couple of tempting moves, but only one is completely winning. I think it just straight up wins a piece. Yeah, and I don't think there's any defense to it either. So it's a very strong idea, and kind of an unusual one, which is why I put it in the difficult section for the week. In any case, this game comes to us between the players Jiang and Zhu, played on chess.com in another Blitz game. So let's see how we got here. This is actually only move number 15, about to be move 16 for white. So this one began as a Sicilian defense. It became an open Sicilian after the exchange on d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. So we see a Najdorf Sicilian, very topical, very popular opening at all levels. White goes for this f4 line, which is pretty old school, but there's a lot of dangerous ideas here as well. Black goes e6. E5 is also possible. Knight bd7 is possible. Lots of moves are possible here. But e6 is a bit conservative, just setting up the Scheveningen pawn center, keeping options flexible. White goes bishop c4. Probably the bishop in this system should go to like d3 or e2. Because on c4, there's some ideas for black to go for d5, even though the structure might not be the most thematic. It comes with tempo. It's at least interesting to consider here. Also, b5 is possible as well. So the bishop on c4 feels slightly misplaced. Anyway, bishop e7 played in the game. f5, immediately trying to open up the diagonal for the bishop. This is a typical idea in the Sozin, but this isn't exactly a Sozin. It's slightly different because the pawn's already on f4. So e5, knight back to f3. e5, by the way, completely justifies the bishop being on this diagonal, so it's a very, very bad positional move to open up the diagonal willingly. Even though it wins a tempo, it's not as relevant as the fact that this bishop's going to be a monster, putting pressure on f7. Okay, so knight f3 back, knight bd7, a4, nice move, controlling any b5 pushes. So black instead goes b6 to get this bishop to b7, rook c8, typical development. Bishop e3 played by white. Bishop to b7, and queen d3. So white's not revealing yet which side they will castle on, staying flexible as well. Knight c5 played, and now white seizes a very good opportunity to either win material or open the position in a nice way. So they take on c5, giving up the two bishops, and after bc, they played the move rook g1, intending to play g4, g5 with an attack. Driving the knight away, of course, is usually a good idea. But you might ask, what if they take the other way? Well, if here, there's a very nifty tactical idea, which is actually not too uncommon here, when you have an open d-file on the king in the center. If you guys want, you can pause the video and see if you can find it. And it's not the only good move for white either, I should say. Just strategically, like I said earlier, because this bishop is open and unopposed on this diagonal, white's just going to have a better position, but there's an immediate tactical shot, basically, that white has here to take advantage of that fact. So that move is bishop takes f7, very thematic. And it's not like you're winning a queen or anything. This queen on d8 is sufficiently protected by the rook and the bishop. It's more that you have this follow-up knight g5 check, and these weakened light squares after this f7 pawn's been eliminated means that the king's just going to be running here, then queen c4, and it's just a dangerous long-term, potentially short-term, depending on how well black defends, attack. So we have this idea coming in, knight e6 is a move, very dangerous position for black to defend. Okay, so that's a nice opportunity just to show what would have happened potentially if the other pawn took on c5. So bc was played, which is safer. You might be asking, like, why can't white just do this anyway, right? So if here, and then knight g5, you could still play like this, it just doesn't work as well. And then let's say king to e8, and queen to c4. Well, you might have noticed that there's one key difference here, which is that with the pawn on d6, black's able to close lines with the move d5, cutting the diagonal so the queen can't get in. And without the communication of the knight and the queen together, this attack is nowhere near as powerful. And in fact, black's going to take over the initiative soon. Okay, so back to the game. Rook g1 was played, because the sacrifice doesn't work quite as well here. Bishop c6, it's kind of a slow move. Probably not the way to go. There's a very messy move here, which can try to seek some clarity for black in their position. It's another kind of very standard idea, which I think they went for later when it worked a lot less well. But move knight takes e4 with the idea following up like this. It's still going to be really loose for black. Their center is now very exposed. But they are trading pieces in a position where they were kind of cramped. So in general, this might have been a better practical try for them. A move like castles long is recommended by the computer overlords. And then after takes, queen c7. Yes, this pawn is very weak. Yes, there's still the kingside attacking potential, but black's got a bishop pair. They can at least try to fight on in this position. I would still much rather be white, of course. So bishop c6 played. Bishop takes a6, winning a pawn. Probably stronger was just to continue with the idea that white set out with earlier with rook g1 and just to go g4, g5 and try to blast away. But instead they went for the greedy option. They took the pawn. And now black should definitely castle, get their king out of danger. Even though it looks like you're kind of walking into an attack here, white just can't willy-nilly continue throwing stuff up the board because their king is in the center, right? You can't just attack and hope that everything's going to be okay when your king's not safe. You got to secure your king and then start the attack. And here there's a couple of moves that are pretty interesting for black and very good for black. Knight takes e4 is one of them. The point being that the queen is overloaded defending this bishop and also this square. That's not the only idea. Also d5 is very promising, I would imagine, to open the position. That's typical when your opponent leaves their king in the middle. What else? What else is good here? Yeah, black just has a lot of promising options if white just ignores everything after castles. Castles in g4. Even queen a5 is a move that's interesting. With similar ideas, like this is still kind of under fire. This is obviously hanging now. There's a pin here. A lot of pressure. This would not be pleasant for white. So castles is the way to go here, and probably white's going to castle long at some point, or maybe try to keep the king in the center, but that, like I said, is a bit risky. So anyway, knight takes e4, and here it's actually a blunder for black. Now it's white to play and win. So not a very long solution, but a cool one, and a good one to know. So hopefully you guys check it out, hopefully you solve it, and I'll see everyone tomorrow as we reset to our easy puzzles for next week. Hope everyone's safe, have a good one, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.